Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave Sports and Entertainment original presented by PrizePicks. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. It is that time of week where we have a guest join us. Check her out on NFL Live and the Mina Kimes Show. Her name is Mina Kimes. What's going on, boss?
Hey, it is so good to be here. I was racking my brain for the name of the right time listener who introduced himself to me at Hartford Airport a couple of weeks ago. I think it's Emmanuel. In any case, your listeners, and this is not, I know this is going to come across as pandering, are my favorite people that I meet in real life who come up to me of anything I do.
I appreciate that. I've had more people who are guests on the show who tell me that the number of people that come up to them and say that they feel like they got to know that person better from checking them out over here. I appreciate that, and I appreciate that because it says so much about how closely our listeners pay attention because they come up and they talk to you guys and they leave me alone.
Wait, really?
Not really all the way leave me alone. People know I keep it brief. You know what I'm saying? I'll give you a sturdy what's going on. I'll give you a head nod. I will give you a thank you. But in all likelihood, I'm moving. I don't stay still. That's the thing with me. You ain't really gonna catch me staying still. I'm on the way to where I'm going.
My drive-bys, someone points at you and says just ESPN and keeps walking, are almost 99% first take, which is a small amount of my job, right? But I mostly you keep Stephen A in line, that kind of thing. But then the actual people who stop, say hello, ask to talk to me, or say something nice, often it is people who listen to your show, and they often ask me about what you're like in real life. Get that a lot.
What'd you tell them?
Oh, he's just even worse than he seems. He's just awful. So terrible.
I think people struggle to realize I'm actually this person. I don't think, I guess it's just the nature of this stuff where people think that people put on something like, nah, man, this is kind of what it is.
Yeah, I think you're goofier in person. I think you're a little sillier.
Fair.
I don't know if you want that out there.
I think I am nicer in application than people realize I am because I famously believe that nice is an overrated quality.
Yeah, I think that's fair, but I think you're also high touch. Why am I being so nice to start this? I think it's because last time we talked crosswords. You are very, very good at checking in and staying on top of things with a select group of people, and you feel very flattered to be in that group of people. That's what I'll say.
I appreciate that. Yeah, the rest of them, man, whatever happens. You know what I'm saying? Whatever happens to them. By the way, rest in peace to John Amos. Before I forget, I would send you. Somebody just sent me something with John Amos that is the wildest thing I've ever seen, and I wish I could share it with everybody in the world. I'll share it with Sean. I'll share it with Sean and let him decide if he wants to share it with you or not. That's going to be on him. I'll get up. I find out Devante Adams. The Raiders say they're considering trading Devante Adams. How do you and it seemed very clearly to be a leak on their side. Either you do it or you don't. We're considering. Nah, man, y'all want to trade Devante Adams. It starts at a 2nd round pick. He makes a lot of money. You hope somebody's going to do this. And then I saw that Devante Adams would his top 2 teams are the Packers and the Saints. And didn't that boy learn the last time that it ain't show friends? Acting like this is show friends is how you wound up stuck on the Raiders.
The way Davante Adams feels about Derek Carr is like the way some people talk about their high school girlfriends and they just never get over it. And they're always comparing everyone to their first love. And it's kind of befuddling to the rest of the world, especially when they finally show you a picture and you're like, okay, right. Interesting, yeah, right. She's really the one that got away, man, because that man loves that man. He loves him so much that he left Green Bay to go play with Derek Carr. And then when Derek Carr left, and this is in Davante Adams' defense, he came there to play with Derek Carr and the Raiders, kicked him out. He never got over it. Now, I think he would have gotten over it if the Raiders had found a competent quarterback solution, right?
Correct.
And I'm of the belief that they seriously wanted to draft Michael Penix and didn't get the opportunity to do so. But in any case, it is befuddling to me that he wants to follow him to the ends of the earth. I don't think that the Saints are going to happen. I think the Jets are far more likely, that reunion. But yeah, that is probably the funniest part of this entire story.
Well, the truth is, no matter what you think about Derek Carr, the Raiders replaced Derek Carr with guys who weren't as good as Derek Carr. Like
Yeah.
it was one of those things that should just let you know, like, no. Raiders fan, Derek Carr is in fact the best quarterback you've had in 20 years. That does not speak, I mean, he wasn't really, duking it out there with some greats of our time, but that's who was there, okay? And then they went, Jimmy Garoppolo, they playing the Gardner Minshew, Aiden, what kind of Connell? Is it O'Connell?
O'Connell.
Not Matt Connell. He O'Connell? Okay, cool.
He's
I knew
O'Connell.
it was, from
AOC.
one of them apostrophe countries. You know what I didn't realize that I wonder how he feels about being AOC or how his dad feels about it more specifically. I'm not, like, I have serious questions as to whether that's the nickname that he wants. But I would actually say this. If I was him, I'd rather go to New Orleans right now and play with Derek Carr than go up to the Jets and play with Aaron Rodgers, because Derek Carr is So Derek Carr is like the high school girlfriend you talk about that's always the love that he wants to get back to. Aaron Rodgers appears to be this girl that he used to holler at for a while, but she ain't put no new posts up in a couple of years. And you thinking maybe she decides to be a little more private about her life, but actually what you don't realize is it ain't the same as it was a couple years ago. You know what I'm saying? You gonna pull up there and you're gonna be like, hey, so where's Aaron? No, that couldn't possibly be Aaron looking all broke down, trying to get out that pocket, not able to do these things like he used to. Oh no, the Aaron I knew would have done something with Garrett Wilson. Oh no,
Okay.
this is you now?
Let's take a pause here, because I I haven't been in the streets in over a decade, so I don't know how things are these days. What do you do when you're single? We'll get back to the Jets and Davante Adams, I promise. But what do you do when you're single and you figure out that the person you're fine on the apps or you whatever hasn't posted a picture? And, like, first of all, what is the statute of limitations where you start to worry, where you're like, okay, we got no recent updates? And how do you investigate that? Like, is that an automatic deal breaker? Because is it an assumption if there's nothing recent, what's recent isn't good? Or how does one navigate those tricky waters?
I do not like traffic in the spaces in those ways, but so much, right? So just want to be clear. I'm not like, there are a lot of people who could give you better advice, perhaps. I would simply discuss this axiom. If a woman feels good about how she looks, you're going to get plenty of opportunities to say you feel the same.
Interesting. Okay.
And so it's like, it doesn't necessarily have to be on the main Instagram that lasts forever. It may be only over there on the One Day Peep Show. But you're going to get some evidence of how things are going if she is happy with how things are going. If not, then not. Now, hey, you might like the changes more than she does. Could be. However, it means something. It means something.
Yeah. No, I hear you. It's to bring it back to the NFL. It's like when people are defending their quarterback, but they're cherry picking stats. They're like, yeah, well, on play action, on first down, his QBR is the best in the NFL. And you're just wait. Well, something's off here.
Right.
Like, you're being a little bit too discriminating. And that in itself is quite telling.
Well, since 2019, that's the equivalent there, is that when they broadened out that window to start bringing in like some old feats and accomplishments.
Exactly. And yeah, I think your analogy is correct. Especially when I watch the Jets, man, like, Aaron Rodgers can still throw the football, right? Like, he can still throw it, and you could easily cut together a highlight reel of his throws that make him look like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But the whole operation, it just looks so hard out there. And what's so crazy to me is, like, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall look worse this year. They looked better with Zach Wilson, and there's complicated reasons for that. And some of it is he brought, Hackett's in the mix, right? Who's not one of the better play callers in the NFL, in my opinion. But if I'm Davante Adams, like, the Jets need him so desperately, but you got to be a little bit apprehensive about what you're walking into over there.
Yeah, and I think, so Aaron Rodgers will never not be able to throw, right? He's always going to be able to hit you with some great throws. But I watched some of that last game because, we get Jets games here. He's not that dude anymore. Like, I mean, and I think it's unreasonable to expect him to be that dude at 40 years old coming off the Achilles injury. But he's not that guy anymore. And Hackett's his guy. Like any blaming that we want to do on Hackett, the only reason he got a job is because you like him. That's it. Garrett Wilson getting on the radio saying that their offense is predictable, basically, that they're not imaginative enough. And it seems like he was correct, even though you don't say that in front of company. No, I would not want to go sign up. Because, look, if the Jets get Davante Adams and they still looking like these Jets that they are, do you realize how loud it'll get up here?
Again, the craziest thing about Garrett Wilson is this young man played with Zach Wilson and never complained. Once. You never got a quote like this from him those 3 years, right? Do you like? I found it shocking because one thing about these wide receivers, they love to complain. And he came in and he put up with some of the worst quarterback. Forget Zach Wilson. I mean, you can list the quarterbacks who threw him the football in New York, and that he never once complained. He was a model citizen to the point where I was like, dang, like he might be a saint, right? Because if I was out there running perfect routes, getting wide open, and Zach Wilson was throwing the ball 10 feet over my head, I would be out there. So for him to complain now, to say what he said, I found that pretty shocking. And I think what's so tricky, Bo, is when you watch the Jets, everything looks difficult. It's not like some of the offenses around the league, Minnesota and Green Bay. I was just watching that game. Those are two play callers who are just like scheming dudes wide open, and they're super creative, and they're using motions and formations, and it's a beautiful thing. And then you watch New York, and it looks like early 2000s football, right? So, but what I find tricky about that is disentangling, okay, how much of that is Nathaniel Hackett versus Rodgers just wants to play this way. Like he wants to use his big brain and pick apart defenses. He famously in Green Bay did not like using motion. Him and Matt LaFleur actually seemed to butt heads a little bit. And I think that's why it's so challenging for me to be like, okay, this offense can go toe to toe with some of the best offenses in the NFL because it just doesn't look like modern in the same way.
Well, we also have to remember this too, man. It's the Jets, right? So that's to say that they could come out there with the 2025 model of the offense. That new ain't even came out yet. Something else going to happen. Something else in some form, fashion, whatever's going to come up. Look, I said they need to go ahead and fire the head coach today because they're going to wind up having to fire him because it ain't. Aaron Rodgers is the coach right now. That seems to be pretty clear. And they don't seem to respect this other guy. The problem with the NFL, of course, is you can't just bring in a new coach like you can in other sports. Other sports, you can turn this whole thing over, get a fresh start in the middle. Nope, they just had to promote somebody else that was already on this staff. Can you imagine if they made Nathaniel Hackett the head coach?
I mean, the Colts did bring in Jeff Saturday.
He did it one time. Oh, that's right. They did do that with Jeff Saturday.
But you're right. Usually it's like whoever the oldest guy is in the building. Yeah. God, Nathaniel Hackett would be really something. Yeah, I don't know what, I guess my feeling, Bo, is just like there's the next, I don't know how quickly this Devante Adams thing is going to go down. And there's a bunch of other teams who can and should be in the mix because for a litany of reasons. And some of them might need the Raiders to eat some of that contract to make it feasible. But the Jets, it just seems like they're so desperate. Like if the Raiders can't hose them in this deal and get the most out of them, then Tom Telesco shouldn't be the GM because they're so obviously desperate right now for Davante Adams. I mean, Joe Douglas, dude, forget the head coach, their GM, right? He pretty much banked his entire career on Aaron Rodgers, and it has to work now. That clock is ticking. It's hard for me to imagine a team outbidding them, even though like other teams probably should be in the mix.
I am disappointed that Mike Singletary already did the I need winner speech because it feels like Antonio Pierce is a week away. He had the thing with the business decision, and then we saw some clips of some dudes where I was like, ooh, those do in fact, those don't just look like business decisions. Those look like point shaving decisions from what I was witnessing in some of these videos. Then didn't he like the post about trading Devante Adams or something like that on Instagram? Like we got one of these.
Why is your head coach even on Instagram?
Oh, I know why.
I want him to succeed.
I do too. I want him to succeed, but I do think we need to keep this in mind about Antonio Pierce. Yeah, let us not forget, though. He lost his job at Arizona State for flagrant cheating. Like, it wasn't the money paying cheating. It was the COVID, everybody got to stay at home. And Antonio Pierce was like, whatever, just flying people in. It was willy-nilly what he was doing. It is only the Raiders would have made him a head coach. And a lot of us were rooting for the idea of him being the head coach. But we didn't really know if he actually had any business being a head coach. And they're 2-2. But he's a little bit like too dedicated to being himself. I think that's the concern that I have, is that maybe you need to be a little bit of somebody else.
You know what I felt that was when he was asked about Tua and he was like, yeah, you should retire. I was like, whoa, right? Like, I mean, a lot of people I talked to around the NFL agreed, but the first rule of Head Coach Club is you don't talk about other teams' business like that. I don't even object to it, but I was just shocked that he said that out loud. I think he's like, he might be, to your point, like a little bit too unfiltered right now.
Yes. I mean, this is what happens when you haven't lost a fight since like 93. Say whatever you want. What you about to do?
Yeah.
Like, did you ever work with him when he was at ESPN?
No, I've never met him or encountered him.
Oh, man. Antonio was a no-fluff interview. Let me tell you, he's giving you exactly what it is that you asked. And by the way, I don't know exactly how he felt about 2011, but he wasn't too dishonest about the fact that the 2007 was about a fantastic defense.
I want to explore. I want to explore something you just said about this is what happens when you have a coach who's never lost a fight. Because I feel like we always think of that as being a good thing, right? Like, oh, my coach can kick your coach's ass. Dan Campbell. Like, that's why Dan Campbell's going for all these fourth downs, because who's going to tell Dan Campbell that it's a bad idea? But this might be the flip side of having someone who's never been physically humbled in any encounter in his life. Maybe he's a little bit too confident. Maybe you got to have a little bit of fear to be the top job.
There's something to that, by the way. Speaking of my guy, Dan Campbell, I know you got a chance to watch my Lions play on Monday night.
Your Lions.
That's right. They are my Lions right now. And I mean, they look just like a legitimately good football team. Like, last year was kind of a feel-good story. Now it's like, no. Not only are they supposed to be here, no one has had the roller coaster career of Jared Goff, because I think people have forgotten Jared Goff was so bad as a rookie that it seemed impossible he could ever be good. Like, it was kind of like the Bryce Young sort of thing with the levels of stats that you were looking at, and you're like, nothing about this says he could be good. McVay came in, it worked out okay, and then McVay got bored with him, shipped him out of town to get Matt Stafford, and, I mean, Jared Goff looks as good as Matt Stafford now, at least.
I don't agree with that, but
I said looks. I didn't say he was. I mean, the man was 18 for 18 last game.
He was great, but if you swap positions, I think
fair.
I don't think.
Hold
let
on,
me put it this way.
Everybody told me that the problem with Matthew Stafford for his whole career was just that he was a Lion. So apparently, if you put him in a Lion suit, he just turned back into be a regular 7-yard and attempt dude. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, the Lions, as soon as he left, became a juggernaut around the quarterback.
They did.
They did.
He only had Calvin Johnson.
I mean, listen, and Jared Goff, the first year was difficult. And I want to say, like, Jared Goff, I actually think has become a much better quarterback. And I totally think he's a quarterback you can win a Super Bowl with. In fact, the Lions and Chiefs were my preseason pick to win the Super Bowl. So, I'm doing the thing you do right before you sound like a hater so that you don't sound like a hater, by the way, to be clear. Matthew Stafford is playing in maybe the worst situation of any quarterback in the NFL right now, right? Like the entire Rams roster is injured and he's still making some of like the best throws you've ever seen. So I mean this more as Matthew Stafford defense rather than a Jared Goff insult. When I watch the Lions, they're just a wagon, right? Like and the problem is, you and I have talked about this. When you praise an entire team in an offense, sometimes people get their hackles up because they interpret it as criticism of the quarterback. The quarterback plays in the situation the quarterback's in. The situation is awesome. That was watching them dominate an admittedly very injured Seahawks team on Monday night, though. But I was just thinking, man, like this is what it looks like when everything is clicking in Detroit. Play caller is in his bag. Offensive line, which was down their center, is dominating. The run game is unreal. And Jared Goff, I think he has gotten better at a lot of things, but when the circumstances are good, I think he's as good as any quarterback in the NFL, and I think that's what you saw.
Yeah, and I think that was like the 2018 version of Jared Goff was that, right?
Totally.
I know how me and you have different opinions about running backs, but I'll just note that Sean McVay has never looked like as much of a genius as he did when he had Todd Gurley back there making things happen, right? Reminds me also, not sure if you've seen old Derrick Henry out there looking like a Hall of Famer out there. I don't know how he's still doing this. Like, he's supposed to be shutting down at this point. His entire career, and I mean this all the way back to high school, is us saying, yeah, but about him doing amazing things and him just continuing to do amazing things. But I was watching him run, and I was like, I hope Mina's enjoying this. I really do.
He saved 2 of my 3 fantasy. Nobody cares about your fantasy team, but I was enjoying it personally because you know how they do like it's like those win percentile charts. I was down in the 20s, both of my teams. I'm thinking I'm the Patriots in that Super Bowl, and Derrick Henry bailed my ass out twice. I love it, and he's a unicorn, man, because I know. Yeah, with the running back thing, I do tend to think like, situation matters a lot. And obviously the situation is very good, but he is a unicorn, not so far as I think he's like rescuing this Ravens team, which was already a dominant rushing attack. He's a unicorn in that every example throughout history of running backs who get as much usage as he has, 200 plus carries, they fall off every time. And he is not. And in the same way that, like, as the game goes on, although it wasn't the case on where he had the great run at the beginning, he seems to gain like energy and power and strength and speed in a way that is just absolutely terrifying as defenses get demoralized playing him. He is doing that in his own career. Now, I do think it was, him going from the Titans to the Ravens is about going from like the worst possible situation for a running back last year to one of the best, no doubt. But it was so fun this is the dream. Him and Lamar in the same backfield. It looked against Buffalo exactly what we thought it would look like when they made the signing. It was so cool to see.
Yeah. The demoralization part is the thing that is so important to me about this as a football game. All the passing arguments, the spreadsheet arguments, and they're good ones. Like, I don't mean that dismissively, right? In the aggregate, they're going to win out in the larger sample. However, we got to go try to bring this big ornery son bitch down over and over and over again. Like, no. Like, and also here's something I hadn't quite realized. He's only had one season where he missed more than one game, which I think is pretty impressive given the workload that he's had. And that 1 year, he missed half the year, but in those 8 games, he had 937 yards and 10 touchdowns. In a different era, he is who every kid wants to be like.
What he has done to preserve his body should be talked about more too, right? It's some Tom Brady shit. Like I think I can't remember, somebody on the Ravens was talking about today about how after that Sunday night performance, the next day, like 6 a.m., he was back. I read somewhere that he doesn't eat until 5 p.m. every day, which that is more impressive to me than anything I've ever read about a football player. I cannot imagine a world in which I wait until 5 p.m. to eat every day. He has been so careful about making sure that he has longevity in his career. So I feel like that's something we probably should talk about more with him, because it is a big part of why he's able to do what he's doing.
Well, hold up, though. What if that you just spelled out the secret to his success is hanger? He just be out there hangry. And that's how we get here. Like, that's the only real explanation that I got, is just he out there hitting them with that hanger.
Monday Night Football's at 5:20 Pacific, or well, I guess if it's Eastern time, he probably ate a little bit before then. But yeah, God, maybe if you made me wait until 5 p.m. to eat and then put me in a grocery store, I'd look like Derrick Henry going through those eyes. Like, I'd be so mad all the time. That is unbelievable.
He hitting them with old school child abuse. He out there hitting them with that wire hanger. That is what it is. He leaving marks all over their arms and legs because he hitting them with the hanger. Come on, I'm not talking about like burning them with an iron. Just a little hanger.
You know who has hanger? The little guy sleeping behind me when a few hours
He's
go
a hanger
by,
guy.
starts acting like Derrick Henry, biting my knees like Boudin.
Wow.
I feel like right now there's this like broader conversation going on about, right, like passing offense is down and running is actually up, and some of that has to do with the way defenses are built now, but also the way they play. It feels like this is the right moment for us to rally around Derrick Henry as the face of the NFL. Obviously, he's been in this league forever, and his career is incredible. But like, I do hope that we give him as much shine this year for what he's doing as he has ever received throughout the course of his career.
Yeah, I hope so, and let's keep it going. All I'm saying is this: you can pull up a highlight film of Drew Brees or pull out a highlight film of Derrick Henry. Which one is more fun to watch? That's what I thought. You pull up a highlight film of Tom Brady and a highlight film of Barry Sanders. Who's more fun to watch? That's what I thought. We need to bring back these dudes being entertaining to watch, run the ball. See. You about to say something silly? I see it coming at you. You really want to watch Tom Brady stand around, huh? Over Barry Sanders? Barry Sanders?
I mean, it is very beautiful to watch a genius quarterback dice up a defense from inside the pocket and make throw.
Hey, let's go play some commercials before Mina does something silly again, huh? Let's do that. Let's just go ahead and keep this moving. I want my people to still think she's fun.
IG though, Barry Sanders, big liker, a lot of likes.
I said go to commercial. Not that
Tom
one.
Brady's not like him.
The NFL is back, which means you can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite teams only on PrizePicks. You can make a PrizePicks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make PrizePicks the #1 fantasy sports app. But rather than hearing it from me, let's talk to somebody who uses PrizePicks. Hey, Sean, how's those PrizePicks been coming for you?
Oh, well, Bo, I'm excited. Obviously, the NFL's back, and even though we've lost the Caleb Williams special going on in the month of September, PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. And PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday, whereas each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select players' projections to 25% to provide even more of a value in your lineups.
There we go. So make sure you go to prizepicks.com/Bomani and use code Bomani for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/Bomani. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Subject change. We had a really good one going on here off camera. We have managed to have some 2 really interesting discussions right in time to start talking about something else. Well done. Where are you on the Chiefs and Mahomes? Because he's been, if we're being honest, a little ochre so far this year.
Well, first of all, apparently Rashee Rice is like fine. Have you following this? One of the weirder injury stories.
I saw that Nick said it might not be an ACL tear, and I'll admit, the way they talked about it, I didn't watch after because I don't watch catastrophic injury, but nobody seemed to think that this is something that he could come back from anytime soon.
Literally after the game, both, I think Mahomes and Reed were talking about him like a fallen soldier, right? Like,
yes,
I'm just praying for the best for Rashee, right? And so, naturally, the world assumed, okay, we start doing our Chiefs trade, DeAndre Hopkins photoshopped in a Chiefs jersey, whatever, we'll figure it out. And now we're getting all these updates that he might not even be out for like half the season or something. I don't know. That makes it a little bit hard to talk about the Chiefs. But even with him, to your point, like the offense hasn't looked good at all. And it just kind of feels exactly like last year, right? Where it's like, not explosive, aside from a couple of bombs to Xavier Worthy, who thus far, and I know you probably have more thoughts on him being from Texas, he's been just a gadget guy and a deep ball guy. I feel like, Bo, unless they can unlock another level to him, and then they did ice the game with him on 3rd down on the shallow crosser, they're just going to be really inconsistent and boom or bust, because outside of Rice and Kelsey being up and down, there's just nothing else on this roster.
Yeah, he's so small. I think it just really comes down to that, is that he is,
Yeah,
if you
he
can't
is.
get it done by being faster than everybody else, then it's probably honestly a little unsafe for him to be out there. Like if he's got to be in some situation where being fast isn't enough and somebody can actually hit him, the young man might die. What has worried me though is that Patrick Mahomes has looked like he ain't even paying attention. Like the picks and the bad throws that he's making seem to be just lapses of focus. Like him, like where as soon as he throws it, you're not watching it, and then you're surprised in the end that it's a pick. It's looking like a pick the second he gets rid of it. And I've never seen him look like this. We've seen it when everybody started going too high and he had to make the adjustment to start, doing more things underneath. That looked much different than what it looks like now. Like he looks unfocused from a distance.
Yeah, he has these games and in stretches of play at times where the decisions is just kind of inexplicable, right? It doesn't even look like a quarterback who's forcing it and trying to make it happen. It looks like a quarterback who's like, nah, get back to me in January. And this has happened before, which is why I'm like a little bit reluctant to draw any strong conclusions. The defense is so good, Chiefs defense, that I think they're going to hold serve until the end of the year. But my feeling, especially after watching Baltimore and Buffalo, who look both, I think, are very, very good football teams. I think Baltimore just happens to match up very well with Buffalo, which is why they beat them down. I don't feel like this version of the Chiefs offense can hang with those teams. I know that the Chiefs beat Baltimore. I realize that, but I'm just saying what we're seeing right now without Rashee Rice, to be clear, that's what I meant. Sorry. Mahomes has to play better than he has played, but the whole offense has to be a lot better than what we've seen at the end of the year.
Let me tell you what I don't need. I don't feel like you need this either, but I know I don't need it. I don't need the Chiefs to wind up in a playoff game against the Buffalo Bills where Josh Allen, who I think thus far has been the best player in the NFL, even with last week notwithstanding, I don't need a world where they play a game in the playoffs and Josh Allen is looking like Superman as he has, and Mahomes is looking like the dude that he has looked like, because Patrick Mahomes is going to learn very quickly that everything he did in the preceding 7 years, none of it matters. It's all gone. 3 rings, don't matter. 1 ring, sometime more than 3, buddy.
How quickly does Nick Wright trend on Twitter if that happens? So that would be funny.
Oh, let me tell you something, Nick. If that goes down, at least I know I'll have him. We'll have each other, right? Like at least I will know that he might implode.
Oh, I'm sweaty. Jeez, sorry. Yeah, no, you in your defense, as I keep my arms down now, you took your lumps on Allen a couple years ago. You are. I feel like you're in the clear. I took my L about 4 years ago, 3 and a half. I can't remember when. It was maybe 2 years.
Yeah, you quit. You quit before I did.
Yeah, it was great. It's so freeing. Honestly, it feels great. Nick might be the last guy. Is he the last Allen doubter out there? Is he all alone on Allen Hate Island?
Well, his point has evolved into, and by the way, he is correct. At his best, Josh Allen is great, but he is wildly inconsistent. And I do think it is fair to say he has been wildly inconsistent. He has not been wildly inconsistent this year. And I still think, I don't think people stop being panickers. Like, if you are a panicker, it is always going to be in you. I can't think of the guy who all of a sudden just got the panic out of their soul. And he has some serious panic in his soul. But right now, none of that is relevant. I don't even really know the names of too many people that he out here throwing the ball to, except for my man Keon. Outside of that, they got the dude, what's his name? Shakir. I think they got one of those.
He's good.
But he's just out there looking like that dude. Like, he looked bad in that game against Baltimore, but then had that play where he just rolled to the right and it's like, oh, what's he going to do? Oh, he's just going to throw it 50 down the field, right where you need it. Got it. Okay.
He threw a perfect ball that Coleman dropped down the left sideline too. That was a tough drop. Yeah, that was an interesting game though, right? Because I actually don't think Josh Allen played bad in that game. I just think the Ravens are a really bad matchup for Buffalo, both sides of the ball, particularly the Ravens offense against the Bills defense. And these teams are probably going to meet again. I mean, right? I mean, unless we'll see how things shake out in the postseason with the seeding, but it's going to be hard for me after seeing that to not pick the Ravens again after seeing what they did to that Bills defense, the aforementioned Derrick Henry, the Bills defense that, they'll get Matt Milano back, but I still think can be had up the spine. And football, it's funny, right? Like we do all these power rankings and whatnot, but really at the end of the day, it's about matchups. And that just looks like a terrible matchup for him.
And the Ravens got off their keisters just in time. Because, I mean, did they get off their keisters just in time, or did they get to play the Cowboys right on time?
I think that they were always going to have like a little bit. It's funny because you play the Chiefs week 1. The week 2 loss to the Raiders was the weird one. But in some ways, I think, again, going back to matchups, if this Ravens defense has a vulnerability, it's against number 1 wide receivers. The Bills don't have a number 1 wide receiver, right? Which is why they should probably put on the phone for Davante Adams too, although there'd have to be some cap stuff going on there. So I think that the Ravens defense has always been fine. Obviously, they've lost a lot of pieces. New defensive coordinator, Zach Orr. It makes sense that it took kind of few weeks for them to look like the Ravens defense of last year, which is how I felt watching them against Buffalo. But I also think it's just kind of like different matchups at different times. Obviously, they match up super well with Dallas, which can't stop the run at all. Almost blew that one, though. I feel like they are the best team in the AFC right now, but I'm not sure I trust them to dominate wire to wire. But I don't feel that way about any of these teams. So it feels like there's a top tier, and any of them could beat any of them on any given Sunday.
Yeah, in the NFC, are you falling for this yet? The Sam Darnold thing? Are you going for it?
Okay, so here's what I'll say about Sam Darnold, who I've been a defender of his for a long time.
She's going for it.
No.
I hear this.
No. I think you might like this take, actually. Because I'm a Sam, I'm not going to use the word here because you'll make fun of me. Sympathizer. But here's the thing. I know. It's just so good. Sam Darnold was not good in the second half, for much of the second half against the Packers, and it didn't matter. I'm not falling for Sam Darnold. I think this team is so good that even if he has his lapses, his bozo moments, the team as a whole is so good, it doesn't matter. And he will do enough. He will have moments where he makes beauty. He's incredible arm talent, right? But the offense is so good, especially, oh my God. Justin Jefferson was unbelievable in that game, by the way. But you had Addison back, and you see, oh my God, if you have 2 really good wide receivers and 1 wide receiver commands the attention of the entire defense, is unbelievable. Incredibly, I think Kevin O'Connell is one of the better play callers in the NFL. And then on the other side, Brian Flores. I mean, he's right now, what he's doing with this defense is one of the biggest stories of the NFL season. So my point to you is this team might be Sam proof, right? Like that. Can you? How do you feel about that?
I can see that
approach to it.
I can see that. He does still seem to run into pass rushes, right? He's still like those things seem to go down. And look, to be fair to him, people bring this up a lot. He's younger than Joe Burrow. You can continue to get better, right? And he's been he's been in the position, and this is, I think, very important. No one has really given up on him. Like at every place he's gone, he's been treated as somebody that they thought. Like I'm saying, when I say nobody's given up on him, let me be clear. The Jets obviously gave up, but the next place he winds up, I guess, was Carolina. They were still treating him as somebody they thought could be somebody. And then he got to San Francisco, where they were still treating him like somebody who could be somebody. He had yet to be relegated or banished to backup world. Even Minnesota, they told us they would have been okay if he was the starter. I thought that was poppycock. And now here he is, poppycocking all over the league. And having Justin Jefferson and having his arm allows for the possibilities of some incredible things. And we have seen them do some incredible things. So good for him. I'm just not falling for it yet.
How do you feel about that generally, as far as like themes of the NFL season going, these second chance guys winning, Sam, Geno, Baker being the 3 that everyone points to?
Very interesting. It's very interesting, right? So our guy, Charlie Kravitz, he was talking to him about how, like, the 2018 draft class is all making good at the same time. Somebody needs to call Josh Rosen. He's finally ready.
I saw a graphic. I don't know if this was on TV, where they had all of them in their new spots, and it was a picture of Josh Rosen at Wharton Business School. and they put up his like student photo. So messed up. Sorry.
That's what I was about to say, man. You can go find him. I figured he was an intern somewhere. You know what I'm saying? You can go bring him in. With Geno, I don't think we've talked enough about what a hard scrabbled tale Geno really had. He had 2 years playing with the Jets, and they were bad.
Yeah.
And look, everybody does this every offseason, but they were raving about him in that 2015 offseason, about how much better he had gotten and how he's finally getting there. And then not only did his teammate break his face, the media spent weeks explaining why it was okay and he deserved to get his face broken. And then he lost his job to Ryan Fitzpatrick. You know, we saw what happened there. He winds up with the Giants. He starts one game because Ben McAdoo was like, Eli Manning's going to get me fired. I think Geno can save my job. And it was such an offensive notion that Geno got benched again, the coach got fired, and Eli got to keep his job for 2 more years, right? He bounced to all these places, but it was a clear sign when Ben McAdoo said, I'm going to put this in Geno's hands to save my job. That should have been our sign. When they traded Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll was like, no, we're good. We got Geno. Apparently they've known for the longest that this is what it is. And so we had that first year he was good. And then the next year we were like, I guess. Now it's just like, no, he's in his early to mid 30s. But the dude, I watched that game Monday night. He is whipping that thing around there.
He is... I always feel like I have to couch my praise for him because people think I'm being a homer. And like, there's a lot of things about the Seahawks I think that you can criticize. I do not think the play of Geno Smith is one of them, because what he is doing behind that offensive line is downright heroic at times. His ability to mitigate sacks, his playmaking is something I always thought he was accurate and had a good arm, but what he has done in Seattle in terms of buying time, evading the rush, his pocket movement is tremendous. And he is also just a fun quarterback to watch because he throws that ball into tight windows. He throws it downfield. He is aggressive. I actually think Pete Carroll, they were like, no, we're going to see how this goes with Locke. And then they saw Geno and they realized, no, okay, actually, he's like much better. And I think the same thing happened this year. This new regime comes in. I'm not saying that they were going to move on from Geno, but, they trade for Sam Howell. I think they show up and they're like, whoa, this guy is just, obviously quarterback one. And the thing about Geno Smith, and you in your telling of the story, why it's so important for people to hear is he is probably going to be brought up more than anyone as like, well, Zach Wilson's going to be the next Geno Smith, right? Or like someone else. He didn't get a chance. That it's not like he bounced around as a journeyman and played for a bunch of teams. As you laid out there, he didn't play. He barely threw footballs for years. And honestly, it's a great story, but it's also a huge fucking bummer because you see how good he is now in his 30s, and you realize it's actually really messed up that he didn't get more of a chance earlier in his career.
Well, it's also affirming my belief that most of the improvement that takes place is just here, and you don't necessarily need to play to do it. Like whatever it is that gives you the confidence that you need to make quick decisions, there it goes. Like everybody that rushes to get these guys out here, because I think this season, with the way it's going for all the rookies not named Jaden Daniels, I think it's going to be a bit of a turning point, especially because next year's draft class, we're going to see about how good those guys are. People are going to have to look around and just be like, hey, man, you don't have to rush to get them out there because these guys, look, Caleb Williams does not look good. Like, what it looks like when a guy looks just super talented and is in a bad situation and they got offensive line problems. But he don't look good.
Yeah, a little better, but against the Rams, I'm hoping he can turn it around. That's a tough one because, and I have to take an L here. I drastically, I'll just speak of my own preseason takes, drastically underestimated the offensive line issues in Chicago. And I don't think that the play calling has been very good or done him any favors. Their play caller used to be Geno's play caller, by the way, in Seattle. And they've been, the players have been, shall we say, pretty critical of that. So I don't want to make excuses for Caleb because I think he has also exacerbated some of those problems earlier in the season. Again, I thought he played pretty well last week, but that appears to be one where a lot of us really overestimated his circumstances in Chicago. I do think it's going to look better as the year goes on. Maybe I'm wrong, but I do think that they're starting to figure it out a little bit. He is starting to play a little bit faster. I mean, when I watch him, he doesn't look like a disaster to me. Like, he doesn't look like I don't watch him and I think bust.
Right.
I think like, ooh, he's still adjusting to the NFL game. This might take a second. And that it's disappointing because the expectation was he was going to walk in and just be amazing from the jump. And that's obviously not the case. And it has been the case in Washington with Jaden Daniels.
What's going on there? Because I haven't really had a chance to watch. And I know part of it is Cliff starts season strong. He does not necessarily close them strong. But it never dawned on me that Daniels would be able to produce at the level that he would this early.
There's a few things I think that you have to kind of parse out, right? Like, one is, first of all, competition matters. Bengals and the Cardinals are the teams who are not very good defenses. That's fine. We can say that it is what it is. They're going to play better defenses and they'll be a little bit more tested. I'm really interested in seeing they got the Ravens coming up and then the Bears. That's going to obviously be a game that has a lot of attention on it because of the quarterbacks. Sure, that's a factor. Another factor is, though, like, Daniels was both incredibly pro-ready in a way that has translated immediately to the field, which is to say, he comes in, we already knew he was, like, extremely smart, extremely good at reading defenses, extremely accurate. The questions I had about him were like, okay, well, how is he going to play under pressure? Is he going to take too many hits? And can he throw on the move? And then the third thing is he has done those things. But as every game has gone on, he's done them a little bit more and more. Like the first 2 weeks, it was like a very baby offense, honestly. And it was frustrating to watch. Second week or third week against Cincinnati, throwing the ball downfield a little bit more, making a couple plays on the move. And then last week, I thought against Arizona was his best game yet. I thought it was more impressive than the Cincinnati game because he did all of the things you want to see your quarterback do. So he has been outstanding. He came in, I think probably people maybe underestimated how, he had so much experience. He's an older prospect. So he brought all of that with him. But then, I will say about Cliff, like the offense has been better than I expected. The run game has looked really, really dynamic. We'll see how long that lasts. I am still skeptical of him and his ability to kind of keep that up over the course of the season. But it's certainly helpful when your quarterback is as accurate and athletic as Jaden Daniels is.
So let me ask you this. We're coming toward the end here. And by the way, we didn't really talk about the Cowboys because I just don't feel like there's nothing new to say about them jokers. The Bucs and the Falcons are playing this week, and you mentioned Baker Mayfield earlier. And it looks to me like I'm more locked in than ever on the idea that so much of this just happens to be right here. And so, I mean, he's a bit of a jerk, right? That's kind of his steez. He may be a jerk that you like, but he came in on jerk, and he's always, he ain't that tall, so he always got something to prove to somebody, that sort of dude. And then for the first time, he had something to prove, and he was proving them right. And it fell down, and now the confidence seems to be back, and he looks like a very good NFL quarterback. Like, I don't have to make him a superstar. I don't have to make him the future. I don't even know if he looks like a Pro Bowler, but it's like a very good quarterback.
I think that's exactly the right way to put it. He's good. I think you can point to the fact that, he certainly, I think he does struggle still a little bit under pressure. And you saw that the last 2 weeks, the prior week against Denver, when he was pressured, he was bad. When he played Philadelphia, got the ball out really quickly, and he was very good. And I think it's okay to say, okay, like if you can put together a good game plan and largely keep him clean, I trust him now to go and win you football games. But and that's like, there aren't that many quarterbacks in the league that I feel even that way about. So like I am totally comfortable saying he is absolutely now in that top half of quarterbacks, and I think that the Bucs can win with him. I think better defenses will give them trouble. I don't think Atlanta is one of those defenses. So I wouldn't be surprised if he plays well, unless Raheem Morris, he did a really good job blitzing Derek Carr, and I'd be curious to see if he takes the same approach. But yeah, like he's good. It's, that's good. He's a good quarterback, right? Like he's a good quarterback.
To say.
He's good. Yeah. We don't have to make him top 10 or MVP candidate. We don't have to say he's trash. Like, we just say he's a good quarterback and it's a good offense. I mean, God, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, it's just, those guys. They're great.
Good. There's a lot of good things going on there. Last thing, we are not talking much about Brock Purdy this year, and it is interesting because he is not playing with the Avengers, as it is often described, and he's been good. And the team has been similarly good.
I think Brock Purdy has actually been more impressive to me this season than the last couple seasons rather, considering some of the circumstances. He is like making some big boy plays out there, and they haven't really gotten a lot of attention because they haven't been playing in the island games thus far. But he to me because I don't think I've watched those games in real time. When I've seen him on tape, I've been like routinely impressed by him week after week this year. It's funny though, man, like that team, like, boy, you getting all these updates on Christian McCaffrey and what's going on in Germany, and there's like,
it's over. Like, he's at that age where it's over, right? Like a guy, I think he's 2017, so this would be year 8 for him as a running back, and he hasn't been the most durable guy up to this point anyway. No, I just think that we'll see when he plays, but he's at an age where you can't keep counting on him. Like Derrick Henry, you shouldn't be able to still keep counting on him, right? But I think that McCaffrey's we forget these dudes get old. We just forget.
They get old. He also played so much football last year. I think he had the most snaps of any running back. He never left the field. Obviously, they played in every freaking football game, and that adds up. They were healthy last year. This Niners team's had all these injuries the last few years. Last year, they were the 4th healthiest offense in the entire NFL, and it just felt like that was it for that version of this team. The other thing about McCaffrey, like I have a general rule of thumb, if you have an injury I've never heard of, it's probably over. Like, right, if it's a bunch of words I've never seen put together before on one of those injury graphics, that usually doesn't bode well for you. Combined with Germany, it's not good. I don't know how no one, by the way, noticed this the entire offseason, right? Like, he comes out week 1 and everyone's like, what, he's not playing? And then all of a sudden he's got this like crazy injury. Like, none of that got out.
No, I just think people just, for whatever reason, modern medicine got to a point where we just take all this stuff for granted. Like, that's the only conclusion. Yeah. We forget that people are old. We forget that, like, every injury. I think we lose sight of how many of these guys are on the fringe of being in the NFL or make the NFL, or on the fringe of making the NFL, and then they have an injury, and then that's it, and then they don't play again. Like, that happens a lot more than we think about. We just think about somebody has an ACL injury. Okay, they come back after a year. All right, what's the thing? No, man, these dudes dropping like flies all the time. It's just normally cats that you don't think that much about. And so when they said he was going to Germany, I was like, yo, first of all, I don't know if what they doing over there is allowed. But I know this, the stakes is high. High, I tell you, high, if that's what the plan is.
I don't understand medicine generally, and like I don't, like I'm the kind of person, like when a player like Rashee Rice gets hurt and the Twitter doctors start like trying to weigh in and talk about different body parts and stuff, it all kind of flies over me. But when I see the word stem cells again, like stem cells involved, I know that's not a good thing. And yeah, that's a great point, but there's just all these injuries we never hear about because they don't involve superstar players, and apparently a lot of dudes who are eating before 5 p.m.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you this though, all that online diagnosing, they the mock draft of injuries. It doesn't matter. Let me know when we've got an answer, right? It's what about my buddy Lyndon? He made this point about the political polls. He's like, they're the mock draft of politics. None of it matters. It's just something to occupy us along the way.
Right, like afterwards when they do also like the post debate, like the survey of like undecided vote. I don't know how they're finding these undecided voters, by the way. Like they're still out there and they're doing polls and they're showing up to focus groups, and they'll be like, 41% of undecided voters said Walz or Vance or whatever won, and it just does. I feel the same way about like the immediate react. Like it doesn't. I don't know how they're coming up to these conclusions, but I do know that they probably don't mean anything. You're right.
Well, what I learned from game theory is how you fill up any of those rooms is Craigslist. You go to Craigslist, you put up an ad, and people show up. Like when we did the thing with the museum, the Duke Museum and stuff like that. Yeah. You just put something on Craigslist. Like, because I would just show up and they're like, cool, we got a room full of people. I'm like, how in the world did you do this? Because I'm not showing up for this shit. Like, how did you get people to come?
So what kind of people are you drawing with those Craigslist? Just generally.
I think they're particular in how they ask, depending on what the thing is, what they need to fill it out, like kind of like a casting call sort of thing. But I never bothered to look and find out exactly what they put on Craigslist. But people read Craigslist much more thoroughly than you would think. And the reason is very rarely do people look for things on Craigslist that you feel that comfortable telling people about.
I feel like Craigslist used to be more, I don't want to say legit, because I know that they've always had their scandals and whatnot, but it used to be like the only, like if you were trying to sell a couch, for example, you used to put it on Craigslist. I don't know if, like now I think people use Facebook for that, right?
I think they do that too, but I also think that while people are looking for other things on Craigslist, they may stumble upon a couch. Right? Like it might, like that sort of thing there. I am fascinated by all the websites that have found no need to change their interface in all these years, right? These sites that look the same. One of them came into news because of politics. Did you go to that one site that big boy from North Carolina had been on?
Oh yeah.
They ain't changed nothing since the 90s. Oh, he can say it. It's called Nude Africa. I didn't even realize it was a thing, but apparently some of the homies told me that they used to go there back in the day. I had no idea. Nobody let me know about it, and they have not updated the interface of that site in the 21st century.
I feel like when I see a website that hasn't been updated in a long time, though, right? Like I feel like because I feel like the internet now is so unusable that it's like there are so few websites. When was the last time you went to a website? Let's just look at it.
Yeah, I don't.
NewYorkTimes.com, right?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's fair. You make a fair point. Like I play my quiz games and stuff like that. You know.
I almost got scammed on Craigslist.
But I have no website I regularly frequent.
Guy tried to scam. I tried to sell a couch, or it was a coffee table on Craigslist last year, and I only got 3 responses. 2 of them were just college girls, and the third one was a guy who tried to scam me with the dumbest fucking scam and I've ever seen run. Basically, he said he mailed me a check and said, "Okay, can you? I'm gonna come get it, but first, can you refund me part of the check or something so that I have the funds to buy?" I don't know. The whole thing was insane, and apparently it works because there's people on Craigslist running this stuff all the time.
Was that email in all capital letters?
It had a lot of numbers in it. The shameful part is that it took me like 2 exchanges to realize I was being scammed. I had to Google, like it's a specific kind of scheme that people run on Craigslist.
No, it felt very much like I have a business proposition for you. I need help, and only you will save me.
I just can't believe that it still works and that people are still doing it. But yeah,
old people
still got that coffee table. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that is Mina Kimes. Check her out on NFL Live and various ESPN properties. And also the Mina Kimes Show featuring Lenny, who I met, and he's pretty cool.
Wow. Really? You feel that way?
Oh, yeah. Me and Lenny had a rapport when I came over. You learn. Kids and dogs. They rock with your boy.
We did an age test for Lenny and found out he's younger than we thought.
Really? How old is he?
Thought he was 13 and he's 11.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's a pretty significant difference. Was he like a big child or something?
We got him. They said he was 3. I don't know. The whole thing is made up though with dogs and ages. Like no one knows how old dogs really are. It's like
yeah, that's what I was about to say. That sounds like when they just be saying like, "Yo, I got some of that diesel." Nah, you just got a bag. Like you don't know what this is called. You don't. Come on, man. That's how that goes.
Sorry, I didn't know if you guys had stopped recording, so I stopped talking.
No. You're all good. I wasn't sure what to do either. We're going to say bye. Me and Mina are going to wave at each other at the same time because it got a little awkward on my end too.
Well,
bye,
I'm
Mina.
not going to wave because I haven't lifted my arms in 45 minutes.
Good point. Just you can give me a deuce like that. Give me a little chicken wing and just chuck a deuce. You can do that. There we go. Sean, you got prize picks for the people.
I sure do, Bo. Thursday night football. I'm gonna be both very optimistic and back on the narcotic. This is as optimistic as I truly can be. Kyle Pitts, who has done truly nothing in the NFL this season, 30.5 receiving yards. He has to have more, or else it's it for me. I hear Mina chirping on these prize picks. Bo, I got burned on Monday. Jared Goff, I asked for 0.5 rush yards.
Yeah, I was thinking that as I was watching the game.
He instead got 7 reception yards. That did not count. I did get trapped.
And a touchdown. And a touchdown.
And a touchdown. I will not get trapped again. Baker Mayfield, 11.5 rush yards. Mina's raising her hands. Let's get her in here. Oh, she left. Okay, that's a great screen grab. Bijan Robinson.
Like she's looking like stop taking a picture. That is what that screenshot looked like.
Stop with these picks. Yeah. And then last one, Bijan Robinson, 0.5 rush reception touchdowns. He's been a little down to start the season. I think he's back. If you were smart, you would probably fade these to the audience. But I'm, again, remaining optimistic. So those are my picks.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this here 3 times a week. That's Sean Yu. He handles everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Remember, follow The Right Time. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater, and we'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.